What if I told you that most executives plan their careers backwards and their career plan is sabotaging their growth potential? Today, I'm going to give you a framework that has helped 8 VPs reach C-level executive positions when they came to work with me in my coaching program. So by the end of today's video, what you're going to discover is exactly why some career plans actually sabotage growth potential and how you can avoid that fate. But first of all, you got to understand that a career plan has very powerful effects, and there are 3 fundamental effects of a career plan. First of all, a career plan can deceive. That one might shock you. The second one is that a career plan can direct. And the third one is that a career plan can dominate. Which one do you want to be in? So let's talk about each of these 3. The first fundamental power of a career plan is the power to deceive. It's possible that the career plan that you've created is deceiving you into believe that something is achievable when you haven't become the person who can achieve it yet. It's also possible that the career plan that you have is deceiving you into believing that there's certain activities that you need to take on when that indeed is not exactly true. So this is really important that you understand some of the misconceptions of career planning. The first misconception that a lot of executives have is the misconception that they need to create big, hairy, audacious goals. The problem with that is that you can set big, hairy, audacious goals, and they're so audacious that it's going to take you multiple years to achieve it. So what have you done? Essentially, what you've done is that year on year, you have subconsciously, without your realization, but you have subconsciously told your subconscious mind that it's going to fail year after year after year. That energy is not a productive energy. It's also not a positive energy. Another common misconception of career planning is that a lot of executives, when they create their career plans, they talk first about what education they need to get. Now, this misconception comes from the programming that we've had at a young age, that in order for you to be able to have capacity, that you need to first have credibility. And it also comes from the misconception that in order for you to be trustworthy, you need to lead with your credentials, that you need to lead with the letters after your name. So your career plan has a fundamental power to deceive you depending on how you're creating it. So that's the first fundamental power, the power to deceive. The second fundamental power of career plans is the power to direct. So directing, if you think about a director, what does a director do? It guides the path of that department. So if you have a career plan that has the power to direct, that gives you clarity on the path moving forward. And when you have the clarity on the path moving forward, the journey becomes dynamic, because nothing becomes dynamic until it first becomes clear. When the path becomes clear, the strategy becomes clear. So if you have set up your career plan in a way that gives you the power to direct it, now the energy that you put into it, the focus that you put into it is no longer sabotaging, but instead you get the ROI and the return on time invested. Now, the third power of a career plan is the power to dominate. When I talk about dominate, I am referring to achieving excellence. You are dominating over your dominion. Whether you realize it or not, there is a dominion that you have authority over. For example, a plumber has authority over the pipes in your house. A speaker has authority over the stages. A lawyer has authority over the courtroom and over the understanding of the law. So you have an area in which you are called to be in authority and of authority. That is the place where you can dominate in your dominion. So your career plan has the potential for the power to dominate, to help you and assist you to give the clarity first and to help you achieve excellence in your domain. So now that constitutes the first part of the framework on creating your career plan, to understand that there are these 3 fundamental powers. So now you decide which of these fundamental powers do you want your career plan to have. You make that decision first. Then the next part of the framework now is to decide what the career model is going to be. When it comes to career models, these are models in which you can build your career. There are 4 key models. Now, I want to let you know that there's no right or wrong to it. There's no better or worse to it. You just have to decide. which model do you want to build your career? And that's what you embed into your plan. So now let's go through each of these 4 models, and I'm going to talk about them in somewhat of detail, not too much because I don't want this video to be too long, but I'm going to introduce the career models, and then you make a decision on which one you're going to go with and embed that into your career plan. The first career model is called the stabilizer, and the stabilizer is LGLI. LG stands for low growth, LI stands for low impact. So what is the stabilizer? If somebody chooses the career model of stabilizer, it means that they value stability and security. Stability is really important in their lives because they want that level of being stable. They want to know exactly how much paycheck they have every month. They want to know exactly when they go to work, what do they got to do. They want that level of stability. They want that level of security as well, to know that they have the same job they can go to, that's something that they're familiar with. So that is the values of a stabilizer. So with this career model, the stabilizer, it's important to maintain consistency in your role and your responsibilities. So that means that you have one role, you have a set of responsibilities, and you maintain that responsibilities, and you maintain it day in, month after month, year after year. So that would be how you develop that level of stability and security. Now, when it comes to the stabilizer, one of the things about stabilizers is that there's a benefit for stabilization. When you are a stabilizer, if that's the career model that you're going with, you become very dependable and reliable in the organization, because when you become focused on this role and maintaining consistency in that role and responsibility, it's easy. You'll have a high likelihood of being really good at what you do. And as a result of that, you become a stabilized force in the organization. You offer the organization operational stability, and that's high value. And sometimes if you get so good, you become somewhat irreplaceable in the sense that it costs the company a lot of time and a lot of dollars to replace you, bring someone else in and hire them up to become good at what you do. So those are the benefits of the stabilizer career model. Now, the cons, the drawbacks of the stabilizer model is that it is very likely, it's highly likely that a stabilizer becomes pigeonholed in doing that one thing because they're good at that one thing. So if they ever desired growth, if they ever desired to get to the next level, which is growth, if they ever desired greater stability greater growth and greater vertical growth, then sometimes it's easy to become pigeonholed into that one thing. So that's one of the drawbacks. Another drawback of stabilizer, that model, is that oftentimes it's really difficult to have influence in your knowledge. Because make no mistake about it, if you're choosing stabilize, you've become really good at what you do in that set of responsibilities. You've developed some knowledge, some technical knowledge, and some technical expertise around it. At some point, you might decide that I want to make more influence and have more impact in that knowledge. And so that's one of the drawbacks of the stabilizer model as well. It becomes very difficult, very challenging to be able to have greater impact in that technical responsibility and that operational excellence. Now, stabilizers are driven to do this because one of the things they value the most in their life is having predictability and routine, and they also value work-life balance, which means that they want to be able to go home and leave the work at work, or they want to be able to be home in time to spend dinner with their family, and they want to have that time, that personal time. So that's one of the high values of individuals that choose this career model, is that type of balance in their life, focus on family, and that type of predictability and that routine. So stabilizers have those values. The second career model is called the climber, and the climber is HGLI. So it stands for high growth, low impact. When it comes to individuals who choose this career model as the climber, their aim, their highest values, what they value most is personal achievement. They want to be in momentum. They want movement. So what they pursue, what they pursue things like vertical advancement, growth, which is defined as vertical advancement. They also pursue greater personal satisfaction in what they do and a return on their performance. So those are the things they pursue, and those are the things that they value. And since climbers prioritize vertical advancement and title and compensation increases, they are more likely to pursue promotions around every 2 to 3 years. So these are climbers. Now, when it comes to climbers, there are certain advantages or pros to choosing this career model. One of the key advantages is that you are more likely to build a very strong network, a very strong professional network, because of the high prioritization on vertical advancement and improving those opportunities vertically. Another advantage of choosing the career model of climber is that it's a high likelihood that you experience greater personal satisfaction in advancement. And advancement, that means that you have a higher likelihood of constantly being in momentum, moving towards something that's greater than you had before. The disadvantages of the climber career model and the drawbacks of that is that sometimes when you're the climber, you can create a perception from other people that you have a low sense of commitment. And the reason why that's true is because climbers are prioritizing promotions. They're looking for advancements. So they don't want to stay in this position very long. And that's the advantage of it, which is they have the drive. But the disadvantage, the flip side of it, is that oftentimes they can create perception in other people that they're only here for the short term. And the other disadvantage and drawback from the climber model is that sometimes you can get really sensitive to constraint. When things start to have the semblance of being stagnant, or they don't feel like they're moving fast enough, there's a high degree of sensitivity. There's a high degree of emotionality in that, and it can feel very anxious. So those are the cons and the drawbacks of this career model of the climber. The third career model to choose from is called the expert. The expert, you have LGHI, so it's LGHI, and that means low growth, high impact. So those who choose the expert, this career model, what they prioritize is mastery and specialization. They want to know that they're developing mastery in their domain, in their field of expertise, and they want to be specialized in that knowledge and be able to produce those outcomes. And as a result of that, they value things like recognition. They value things like an invitation to be a strategic consultant. They value things like how they are seen in the eyes of their higher-ups and whether they're called in for their knowledge and their expertise. So those are their values and their priorities. In addition to those values, they also desire to be innovative and to create greater innovations within their specialty. And as a result of their priorities and their values, they're more likely to pursue things like advanced certifications. They're more likely to pursue publications, to publish their knowledge, to get their works out there somehow. And they're more likely to look for opportunities to present their knowledge, to share their ideas, and to express themselves. So let's talk about the pros and cons of the climber. The pros of the climber, the advantages here is, number one, is that you're able to mentor others in their technical skills. In other words, when you mentor them, you transfer your technical skills. You're able to help them to step up into doing the things that you did well. The second advantage of the climber is that you're more likely to be able to have innovation and be able to solve complex problems in your domain because of the focus on mastery and specialization. Now let's talk about some of the cons, the disadvantages of the climber. The first key disadvantage is that you have a high likelihood of becoming the best kept secret in the organization. What does that mean, the best kept secret? It means that you've developed mastery and specialization in your domain, and you know that you have such depth of understanding in your field, but people don't know about it. And so there's a likelihood for climbers to be an invisible expert. So that's one of the biggest disadvantages of being the climber, that invisible expert, feeling like I'm the best kept secret, but I don't want to be a secret. I want recognition. I want to be able to present myself and for a lot of other people to hear it. So those are the two disadvantages. The fourth career model is called the multiplier. And the multiplier is HGHI. That means high growth, high impact. The priority of a multiplier is to focus on transformation. And they focus on transformation across three domains: transformation of self, transformation that they help to get in other people and transformation across their organization. And notice I use the word transformation. Transformation, when we talk about transforming, this is a multiplier. We're not talking about making additions. We are talking about multiplications. So this is why sometimes when we talk about multipliers having HGHI, high growth, high impact, sometimes the growth can be exponential because of the focus of transformation. But the first transformation happens within themselves. When they transform themselves, then they work towards how can I transform others and their lives and what their capacity and potential is. And then from that point, they're developed and empowered others. That helps to transform the whole organization. The values of a multiplier are threefold. The first value is the value of developing others to advance so that they may reach their growth potential. The second value of a multiplier is the value over personal growth over personal performance. So they value personal growth more. And this makes sense because as you advance to higher levels of leadership in an organization or vertical advancement, your total productivity just depends less on the things that you perform as an individual, but they also include things that are done on your behalf. So the focus now becomes more on your personal growth into becoming the leader you need to become. So that is the value of a multiplier, focusing more on personal growth than on personal performance. And the third value of a multiplier is to create legacy change. Now, you've heard of change management. You've also heard of change agents, but the multiplier focuses on legacy change. Legacy means longer term. So multipliers are able to think further out, expansive time and space horizons, and to create change with those expansive horizons, time and space horizons. The multiplier actively focuses on buying back their time and on improving on opportunity. They see time as their most valuable asset. That's why they're more focused on their personal growth than their personal performance. Now, when it comes to being a multiplier, and if that's your career model, the advantages or the pros of that, number one, is that you become very adept at developing high-performing teams that create momentum. That's number one, because of the prioritization and the value on developing others to advance. The second pro and advantage of developing this career model is that you are able to solve bigger picture problems for the organization or for the industry because you have expansive time-space horizons. So bigger picture problems that you solve. And the third advantage of focusing on this career model of multiplier is that you start to have greater impact. That's why multipliers are HGHI, high growth, high impact, because the impact is legacy, generational impact, not just for today, not just for this year, but in expansive time and space horizons. Now let's talk about the drawbacks of this career model, the multiplier. The first drawback or disadvantage is that there's a greater tendency to experience overwhelm if you don't have good systems and processes in place to support you. The second drawback is that the quality of your leadership really determines the quality of the outcomes. You are a multiplier and you want to have impact and high growth and high impact. So the quality of the impact you have really is determined by how well you lead and how well you communicate with your direct reports and how well you are able to navigate the leadership landscape. So those are the drawbacks to the multiplier. So now you have discovered the three powerful fundamental powers of creating a career plan: the power to deceive, the power to direct, and the power to dominate. And you've also discovered that there are these 4 career models that you can build your plan upon, depending on what your goals are and who you are and what you truly desire in your career trajectory. This is a framework that I shared with you, and a framework is only good if you take action. And here's the thing, the next 5 years of your career are going to happen regardless of whether or not you take action. They're going to happen anyways. The question that you have to ask yourself is, where are you going to be when the next 5 year passes?